welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records. Akashic, we laughing, we drafting the passion through vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Consciousness always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magic, let's basking it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
That should be the dream, the wish, the dream, the hope, the magic, the miracle. Okay.
All right.
You're doing yours.
And we're here.
We arrived.
We are here. I'm back at my home studio, my good setup.
Oh my God. So what's the deal? How's it going? How's the play?
Play's good. We opened this last weekend and I have like 3 days off, so I came home. It's 2 hours away, so it's worth coming home for a few days and then going back down there on Thursday for the.
Nice.
It's a very short run. It's only 3 weeks, 3 weekends. It's a huge.
Weird.
In Carmel.
No, I said.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, weird. I was like, where? What are you doing? Yeah, their Shakespeare doesn't pull, at least recently, doesn't really pull audiences.
Yeah.
Like we went to their production of The Addams Family, which is like their big family musical at this big outdoor theater that seats, 300 something people. And it's a huge outdoor amphitheater.
Mm-hmm.
And the place was packed every show. They sold thousands and thousands of tickets. And like we barely got in on the sort of, hey, can we come see the show because we're working for you tip. And then our opening weekend, we had 40 people, 30 people, 25 people. Last night we had like 20 people. So it's like.
Okay. Do you remember that a few weeks ago I wanted to go in the records and talk to consciousness about what the fuck is going on with theater? Because like what we're seeing with our eyes on the 3D level is like Clue the musical sells, Frozen.
Yeah.
What are all the standardy big musicals for your kids, for your family, the normal, nothing challenging.
Things that just feel good.
Feel good shows. Yeah. So like, I'd like to hear straight from the horse's mouth. Like, what's up? And with all the theaters closing, like I'd like to hear the perspective from consciousness. So I'd like to get in the records and ask that today. How do you feel about that?
That sounds great. I love it. And we might even do it with Dawn. She might be interested to conversate about that too.
That's my point. Like she'll be here. We got 3 actors here. Let's go.
That's great. I love it. I love it. I know the play that's at the Aurora right now, which is Shakespeare based, but it's a theoretical hangout between Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe, both playwrights of their time.
Yeah.
And it's just a 2-hander and it sold out a bunch. Like it was a really solid seller for them. But that's the exception, I would say right now.
Well, and that's Berkeley.
Right.
And they've built what that is.
And they've done other plays there recently that didn't do so well. So they've been struggling too. This is a nice exception for them.
That's good. Yeah, let's ask. I'm excited to ask.
Love it.
In part 2, because I'm like, well, if I'm going to be producing fucking shows, I'd like to understand a little bit about.
How do I get people to come to see them when they aren't like pleasing?
Yeah, because I wouldn't mind producing some big fun musicals, like really smart, fun musicals, like put a Book of Mormon up. Yes. Put a Urinetown up. Yes. I'm not that interested in putting another Sound of Music production up.
Yeah.
Or another fucking Midsummer. Like I just don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, of all Shakespeare plays, I would say Cymbeline might be the hardest sell.
That's fair.
Because nothing in it does anyone know about, have heard of.
Right.
Even like the harder ones like Mackers or Hamlet or, the ones that are darker or more intense are household names. So, I want to go see that one because there's sword fights or whatever. I want to see that one because there's a brooding teen in it. But Cymbeline, there's like, that's just a name. It's just a word.
It doesn't mean anything to people.
It doesn't mean anything. And even if they knew what it was, they'd be like, oh, it's about this king, Cymbeline? Not really.
Right.
It's really about his daughter, mostly. He's a minor character in it.
Yeah. It's also like, it's about white people having white people problems.
Sort of, yeah. And it's also very, well, it as a play, it feels like it was compiled by interns from his notes. That's the joke we always talk about. It's so like put together. I mean, God bless our director, Ken. He did a fantastic cutting of it that just streamlines it and says it's a story. It's a story that is being told by a bunch of like carnival roustabouts. So there's no question that this is just a story. It's not like, hey, we have a tale to tell you. So it makes sense that it's kind of cobbled together and chaotic because we're just cobbling it together and making it chaotic, as opposed to like, this is a coherent, important story. And if you treat it like that, people are just going to fall asleep.
Interesting.
Does that make sense? So there's a sort of meta concept of like, we're telling that story. Yeah.
No, I get that part. I just wonder if that works.
So that's the other side of this coin. Going into this, we were, you get to that point in some plays, you just know, you're like, this is a great script.
Yeah.
This is going to work. This is killing.
Right.
We were so deep in it that it was like, well, we're barely going to pull off what we have in mind.
Okay.
Because there's so many technical aspects that, we were relatively unsupported on. So we're doing all the work, which is fun, but it's also a lot of work. And we're pulling all the ropes and moving all the things as actors. And that's the whole thing. And so when we actually pull it off, we're like, great, we got that. We don't have any perspective on whether that's worth fucking watching.
I see. Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And you've been in that.
Yeah.
Probably that play where it's like, well, we did a good job with what we were given.
Sure.
Now, does anyone care?
Yeah. Does it work?
Is that worth anything to anybody? Now, the feedback we've gotten from the people who actually sat in the audience, all 78 of them over 4 days, people effing love it. The sort of, and I'm talking about just the sort of generic theater audiences, not our friends who are in theater.
That's good.
People. They actually have slightly more critical things to say about it. But the people who are just like, hey, I'm just coming to see a show and I wanted it, sounds fun. And are freaking out. They're like, so well told, so clear. Oh my God. Also people who know Cymbalin are like, oh, I actually understood that story for the first time ever.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's, pluses and minuses. I think it's a pretty good show. That's my sense.
Okay. Question.
Yeah.
On that front, I'm coming down, as you know.
Yes, you are.
I'm so excited. Eric and I are coming together. We're going to do fun stuff.
Yep.
You and Rami will be there. We're all going to have a fun time. What version of thoughts and feelings from me after would be fun for you to hear? Like, in other words, how's your...
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll be okay if you say like, I liked a lot of it, totally not my thing. I'll be okay with that. But if you just go, what the fuck? That was horse shit. I don't need to hear that until after it closes. You can tell me that after it closes.
Got it.
So you can give me this one. If you fucking hate it, give me this one. Like, we'll talk and just leave it at that.
Probably what I'll do, actually, if I hate it, whether I hate it or love it, I'll do the same thing, which is I loved this, and this. I didn't love this, and this. And you
and that's fine. And I'll probably agree with you. You'll talk about like this one character, like, what the hell was that? I'll be like, yeah, I know.
I totally get it. And whatever version of whatever you would have just said, I would honor. Like, whatever you need, I'm not going to be like, but I need to say what I think about it now. Like, we're not doing that.
And I would say for people who who have a bit of a Shakespeare phobia, which a lot of people do, Denise she's always saying, oh, I just don't understand it. I'm like, yeah. But what happens when you say that is you put up a filter that says, I don't understand it. So you go into it not understanding it.
Sure.
Because you've been traumatized by ununderstandable versions.
Yeah, sure.
I think we're pretty clear with our language, but I have no problem with someone getting a little bit of a pre-primer on this show because it's not like plot twists are going to...
Oh, cool.
Oh no, I know what's going to happen. It doesn't matter. It's not that kind of a play. It's a play about how are they telling this story.
Very cool.
So like, if you want to like read a synopsis with Eric because Eric might want to hear it, that would be fun.
I'd probably want to hear it. I want to hear it.
You probably want to hear it. Yeah. So
that's cool.
It's one of those where it's like, get the primer. I don't know how to say that word. Synopsis. Read a synopsis.
Okay. Cliff notes.
And we'll be leaving out some aspects of that synopsis. It'll be like, and then there's a visit from the god Jupiter. Nah, we cut that completely from the play.
All right. Okay. You're doing what? How are you? Are you good?
I'm good.
Are you tired?
Well, I'll add one more thing about the play, and it has to do with how my heart is. For the most part, my heart's good. And I would say that what's been so fucking great Two things. One, there's a lot of frustration in the way one works with this particular director who I adore. This is me with every piece of respect and love for this director, Ken Kelleher.
Okay.
But he has a way of working, which is like, add all this stuff and rehearse the hell out and add, you have to move this door here and skate this across. And then, oh no, I'm changing that completely the next time you do it. And I'm changing it again the next time you do it. And you just get a little mad and insane.
Yeah.
And then by the time you open, he's actually taken everything away.
Okay.
In fact, sidebar, second preview, it's raining. Heavy mist with occasional drizzle. And so we realized we can do the show, but we're gonna make an altered version. So we said, we're just not doing any of the furniture because it's gonna be soaking wet and it's gonna be awkward and da-da-da-da-da. So there's all this furniture that rolls in for a certain scene and then goes away, and then rolls in for another scene and then goes away. And it's all made of fabric. So it's just like, no, we're not doing it. So we just had one piece of furniture that we had to have for this one scene because someone's lying in bed for a long period of time and you had to have that. Anyway, we get to intermission on that show. So mostly it's us going to where we would have been sitting, but standing instead. Or there's also this large rolling sort of ladder stair unit made of metal, very slippery metal, that we don't do that night because it's just too wet. It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
But people just go and stand in that position or like we're making adjustments of our own on the fly as actors with good instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Intermission comes around. Ken just goes, that was very instructive. Next day for opening, we have a 3-hour rehearsal where we just cut everything and keep just a few things.
Cool.
Totally scale it, scrape it down. And it's fantastic. It tells the story so much clearer.
Okay.
So that could be frustrating, right?
Yeah.
But both myself and my roommate, who are the only people I talked about it with really that much, Michael Ray Wisely, who's going to be on the podcast in a few weeks.
Oh, fun.
We both are like not getting angry.
Wow.
We're both just showing up. And I used to get so frustrated with Ken, with other directors who are like, you are demanding too much of us,
Yeah.
Instead, it was just like, this is the way we're working and we will get there when we get there.
Wow. Good for you.
And it just felt so calming to know I could do that.
That's nice.
As long as we're not being abused, you got to find that line.
Right.
Where's the line?
Right.
And it wasn't. And so part 2 of that is how we were all working together as a cast, including Ken as the director.
Yeah.
Is we all just kind of put our hands in the middle, figuratively, and said, this is how we're doing it. So we'd get to a beat where Ken would be like, I need someone to move that door. Who can move that door? And nobody went, no, I don't know, I can move that door. Fuck you. It's not my job to move that door. Everyone looked around and went, okay, you're doing that. You're doing that. You're doing that. That's me. I'll get that door.
Cool.
Just with very little pause.
Wow.
Every time.
Wow.
Equity, non-equity didn't matter. Michael Ray, the 2 equity actors, and I, we're doing the ropes. We're the ones pulling on the ropes the most.
I get
literal ropes. We're like the fly crew. But it's
That's
on
cool.
stage. It's totally part of our character. It's
That makes
acting.
sense. Yeah.
There's nothing against our equity rules or anything. But we could diva out and be like, that shouldn't be my job. Instead, it was like, well, we're the best people to do that based on so many factors, and we want it to be safe for these other people that are working, so we'll do it.
Okay, the spiritual principles being enacted here are cooperation, humility, inclusion, willingness,
Everything.
joy. Yeah, that's so cool. Teamwork.
And the buy-in, like I'm almost brought to tears multiple times just whenever I think about the group, and I'm just like, I got your back. I got your back. It's a rarity to have that much I got your back going on.
Wow.
In a show, I think. We know when it's there, it's beautiful. When it's not, it's hard.
Yep.
That's it. That's my spiritual rant for the day. So overall, I'm very happy.
You sound great.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I hope the show is fun to watch because we're good doing it now. We feel good about doing it.
Isn't that kind of the whole game for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
I can't control how you feel about it.
Yeah. You're having a blast.
Having a blast. 2 nights of rain. So now if there's no rain, it's like
You're
easy.
in heaven.
We're in heaven. We did the show in heavy mist and once in slight rain.
Did you see the Taylor Swift tour that's been happening? It's a 3.5-hour show, 40 songs. She did it in full, torrential downpour several times over the course of the tour.
I didn't see that.
The entire 3.5 hours. Didn't blink an eye. Her mom backstage does an interview. She's like, honey, what are we going to do? Do we refund all these people? She's like, what? No, we're doing the show. She's like, no, what? No, but you're dancers. And she's like, oh, I'll just do it. 3.5-hour song, all singing, the whole choreo singing, torrential downpour, not trickle,
Oh, wow.
and by herself.
Oh, she didn't, because she didn't want to endanger her dancers.
Yeah, whoever didn't want to do it, didn't do it. And then she just did it.
It's amazing.
I don't say that to say that's how it always should go, or like people should all operate that way. I do not.
No, you shouldn't martyr yourself to the cause.
No, I would never do that. I would never do it. But I think the fact that she did, it's just mind blowing, but it's very Taylor Swift. She's an incredible human. We had a long talk last night. Eric was like, help me understand the T Swift thing. What's the deal? And I was like, here's the deal. She's a pop star who can make catchy poppy licks, melodies, songs that are fun to hear, and your body dances if you're into pop music. But also she's a genius folk lyricist speaking about relational dynamics and what it is to be yourself. I feel like she's the generators artist. She's the artist for generators, who like pop music. She's just like, who am I to myself? And who are you to yourself? And what is love? And she's so poetic and intelligent in her words, in her lyric writing. She's just, so she has both. And, you usually get one or the other.
Yeah.
Or you get someone who's an incredible lyricist, poet, writer, and their music is incredible, but it fits it's like for some people. Somehow Taylor Swift is obviously still not for everybody, but like for a lot of the population, she resonates. And she's a genius lyricist. Like, I don't know. That's why she's a unicorn to me.
And then she did the thing where she like gave huge bonuses to every single member of the crew. I haven't heard blowback on that, like where there's people like, no, that was just greenwashing, or she didn't give it to these people. She only gave it to these people or whatever. So
because you know the reason she did that?
Why?
Because it's very cool. It's because her show is so crazy. The stage does such crazy, cool technological stuff that they have 2 stages. They have 2 versions of it in huge 18-wheelers. So it takes so long to set up that while she's performing in one location, the trucks are going ahead and building the next location. And she's like, so everybody's constantly working, and there wasn't a way to give them time off. So I was like, well, how about $100,000? And they were like, sweet.
If you give up your life for 3 months, we will make it worth your while.
I think that's so goddamn cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's talk about a thing. And then I want to ask about this also on the records, because we're going the records with Dawn. She's going to be here in a minute. You know how I got the go-ahead in Danville to do this show? Okay,
so you're setting up to start a new theater company.
I'm trying to, for my sanity, frame it more like I'm going to direct a play.
And produce
a play in January, February in Danville. And I have to raise money for it to happen. But I can't call it a theater company because that overwhelms me. I'm just like,
sure.
I'm going to do those 2 things.
Let's do this one show at a time.
One show at a time. Now, except for the following thing. The more I sit with, like, I'm reading plays, I'm looking at things and material, I can't shake the feeling of, I was talking to a friend and she was like, maybe you just direct the one that you know and that's funny and easy. Do it. You have a lot to do. You got to raise money. I don't want to, though. I want to do the thing I want to do, which is 2 plays in rep, Heroes of the Fourth Turning, and a liberal play. And I want to have the discussion with the audience about the same actors playing these roles and the vehemence of each party's position against each other. I want to do that. So what I realized like yesterday was, okay, I have no juice on the project if it isn't that. I keep being like, well, okay, what about this one interesting play? And then I'm like, brr. And then I sit on it a few days. I let my emotional wave ride through, and I'm still just like, brr. Then I'm like, okay, what if I just do the 2 plays I want to do, but do them back to back like a normal person? Ugh. The only thing that has any G center energy, which is like, what am I passionate about? What do I love? Because I have definition in the G. What do I have energy for? Is this other crazy idea that is going to be a lot of fucking work.
Okay.
So I'm just wrestling with that. I'm saying it out loud for the first time that I'm like back to the original idea and really having a hard time giving a fuck about anything else. Because the more I think about it, I'm like, you gotta, like for me, I have to have, why am I producing a play? Is it just to be like, I want to get jobs as a director? No, that's not enough. It doesn't motivate me actually. That doesn't do anything inside of me. Or is it like, I want people to see what I can do? That does nothing for me. If you ask me like, what does something for me? And I think those are good reasons to do things if that's what other people want to do. I just have no juice on it. I'm like, I want to say something that matters and make an impact. And I think this does that. This is the thing right now that does that for me as an artist. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's the thing I have to do, which means I think I need an entire third month. So I have to call the venue now and be like, so remember when we talked about me renting for 2 months, 5 weeks of rehearsal? I was going to already stretch it to 5 weeks and then 3 or 4 weeks of a run. What if it's 8 weeks of rehearsal and a month-long run, or like 6.5 weeks of rehearsal? Because we're doing 2 plays at a time.
Right. Oh, and you would, because it's the same cast, you'd be rehearsing them both at the same time.
Do you think that's a murderer for actors?
It's a murder for you. It's probably a murder for the actors. I mean, how most rep works that I've seen is you get one up and run it while you're rehearsing the other, and then you only have a few weeks of overlap. So like one is running and then you get the other one up. If you have the same cast, you get one up and
okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What if we did a month of rehearsals for one show, put it up on pause, a month of rehearsals for the second show.
Oh, interesting.
And then we tech at the end of the first one. It's all ready to go.
It's ready to go.
And
then you set it aside for a second.
Then we set it aside for a month.
This is not a terrible idea.
Do the second one. So everybody's brain just goes, okay. Then second one for a month. Same group.
And then you do like a brush up 2 days of the first one.
And you do at the end of the second one, you run the second one a couple times. You're like, we're solid there. Then you run them both a bunch of times, 2, 3, 4 times. I don't know. And then you put the whole thing up in reps so that the run would be like Friday play A, Saturday play B, Sunday play A and B.
Yeah. No, that's great. The only thing I would suggest is you might not want to take on 2 like full 2-act plays to do that. If you can find some good tight 1-acts.
That's a good point.
Even if they're like 80-minute 1-acts, but I know Heroes is a 2-act or 2-act play, isn't it? Tea Party, but it just got done in this area, so that's not. Yeah, that would be a sort of
Tea Party super liberal.
Well, it's an examination of the split, and it's a what if on the liberal viewpoint.
Okay.
So it's kind of a variation on what if liberals got violent, basically.
That's interesting.
What if liberals were driven to violence?
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to read it. Okay. So when I hear myself say this out loud, what comes up for me as a child is like the worst part of it is I don't want to murder actors. I want the actors to not have a terrible time.
Yeah.
So.
And you're not going to be able to pay them enough to really make it. You can't Taylor Swift the shit out of this thing. So you got to be careful.
Oh, no. Yeah, but they will get paid. It will be paid. Yeah. I just can't, I almost feel irresponsible putting Heroes of the Fourth turning up just by itself in that town.
Right, because it might be a smug, self-congratulatory, like, yeah, see, we're people too. And then that's the end of it.
Yes. Yes. And then that's nope. Like if I had a whole season, you could kind of get away with that and it's, a history. But if you're starting a thing,
it might be like an apologist play.
Yeah.
And people might think, oh, this is where oh, thank God there's a theater company here to represent the unvoiced conservative viewpoint. Thank God.
I mean, there's enough of that in that town that you could really see that landing that way.
Yeah.
So I think like the whole point would be to kick up the dialogue and to have a bunch of, to me, I'm all about a talkback, a lot of talkbacks.
You're like the only theater maker in history that likes a talkback. Producers like talkbacks. Directors and actors, for the most part, do not.
You think directors too? Actors don't.
I think a lot of directors don't like them either because they're like, I don't need them to tell me what I should have done differently.
Yeah, no. If you tailor, sorry, I had to get some air moving in here. If you tailor that talk back around, like there are specific things we're discussing and here's what they are. Like you have a conversation between 2 people that people can watch, let's say, and then like you take specific questions from the audience. So you curate the way the talkback goes.
Yeah, it becomes part of the process. Literally, it is integrated into how you're doing these shows. It's like part 3. It's not an afterthought, which is what a lot of talkbacks are.
Yeah. Don't you think, though, there's some actors, like young actors, would be stoked as fuck to do 2 shows back to back?
Sure, it's fun.
Like when you were in your 20s, wouldn't you have been like...
I do it now. I haven't done it in a long time. I used to do rep down at Pack Rep a lot. It's called Pack Rep.
Yeah.
They don't really do the rep thing anymore, but we used to, but we would do the rehearse, get one up, and then rehearse the second one while we were performing the first one, and then we'd run them together for a little while.
I'm going to let Dawn in.
Hey, what's up? It's Rami. Just got back from the laundromat. Brand new laundromat in my neighborhood. It's very exciting. They're making lots of promises. Very high tech. Anyway, I ran into 3 of my friends who live on the same corner as the laundromat. They're all under 30, and they were telling me about this problem that they're having right now, which is that this brand new laundromat installed this, shiny new security system that includes this feature that emits a high-pitched squeal that only people under 30 can hear, I guess, to discourage ruffians from gathering at the laundromat. Anyway, it's driving them nuts. They're miserable. It's a terrible sound, apparently. They can hear it inside their apartment. Like I said, their apartment is on that same corner. They can hear it when they're trying to sleep. They're really unhappy about it. They've gone to the manager several times, and now there's a language barrier there. But in addition to that, the manager is well over 30, and he doesn't know what they're talking about. He's not the owner. He's just the manager. He probably doesn't know about this feature anyway. Maybe he does. I don't know. But apparently they think that he thinks they're crazy is what's happening. So he hasn't actually talked to the owner about the sound. And as far as the manager goes, this sound doesn't exist, Ain't that a bitch? Rami's rules.
I'm going to let Dawn in. Let the light in. Let the dawn in.
Let the dawn, the dawn is breaking.
Dawn is dawning.
Morning has broken. Dawn has arisen. We have seen the dawn is rising.
We let the light in, and the dawn rose.
Hey, back at y'all. How you doing? Hey, guys.
Good.
Good. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm floating from a fantastic weekend of saying yes.
Oh.
Ooh, I want to hear about that, but I think you should jump in right away and just ask Dawn straight across
I think so
what she
too.
thinks about doing 2 shows back to back.
Yeah, I also want to know saying yes to what specifically.
Friends, visiting with friends all weekend.
So you would normally say no?
No, not that I said yes to experiences like going out, and not just friends, but like getting out of the house. I love being, like I said.
Oh, cool. And that's new for you, or you're just acknowledging that it's fun?
Just acknowledging. I did it 3 nights in a row.
Ah, that's cool.
And Dawn loves some slippers, you guys. We know this.
Say that every day. I love some slippers, but 3 nights in a row, and I won't do that. Not anymore.
That's what I mean. That's what I meant. So it's a thing you're not doing.
Yeah.
That you did.
I used to, when you had energy to do that. And now I'm like, we don't have a car, we ride bikes, and we were just gifted with an Uber in one direction, friends driving us home in another, friends coming here, and then the piece de resistance, Rami Magran came to town.
Okay, I have to take credit for that.
I know. Katie,
I'm taking credit.
Thank you.
I told Rami, this fucking Dawn, how did I not meet this human? And they were like, I know, right? And I was like, they're in Philly, or that she's in Philly. And Rami was like, I'm sorry, Philadelphia, America?
Yeah, because I'm not home.
I was like, yes.
Where my other dear friend lives, Allison, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm not normally home when she's been in when they've been in town. So it messed me up to be here.
I'm so fucking happy that happened.
Kitty, thank you.
Oh my God. No, I was like, how are you guys not hanging? She's in Philly. And Rami just didn't know.
Yeah, because we've been literally just doing this. I'm in New York. I'm in Philly. I'm in Cali. I'm in Rome.
How about that Rome story?
Hello.
Hurley what?
It's quite the Wes Anderson film when they described it to me.
That is a good point.
I know. I'm in practice. But yeah, when they described it, I was like, I'm seeing Wes Anderson.
For real.
That's funny. I never thought of it that way, but that totally is a weird way of doing it. Yeah, you're like in the hospital and it's kind of abstract and
Completely.
lonely and you don't speak the language. And then there's a person dying in the bed next to you. That's very weirdly dark Wes Anderson.
It completely is. And you need the narration in Italian. No explanation. You have the narrator speaking in Italian.
Just to remind the listener, in case you missed the episode, I think we talked about this on here.
2 or 3 episodes.
Okay.
We talked about it over, and Rami did Rami's rules.
Came on.
Well, and Rami had Rami's rules, which you might not have heard, but like narrated more of it. So yeah.
Well, anyway, just short reminder, Rami goes to Rome, has to have an emergency appendectomy.
Yep.
And doesn't speak the language, is in a hospital, a person dies next to them. We're all in contact with them while it's going on. Craziness. And then it turns out that the whole thing Rami didn't have to pay for because of the way the health insurance works over there. So Rami was like, oh, this is the magic of, because I didn't know why I was going to Rome. I was like, I'll go to Rome, I guess. And then they're there and then they're like, oh, I got a free surgery.
Isn't that, talk about payment. Interesting. Yeah. Because there were some fees paid watching that across from her.
Yeah.
The woman who, that anyway.
Question for you, fully unrelated. If somebody offered you as an actor,
okay, let me listen.
the job, it's taking a breath, receiving. Somebody offered you, you're going to do 2 shows in rep. You're going to rehearse 1 show for a month, normal amount of time, a full month though, not 3 weeks, a month.
Okay.
You're going to tech it. Then you're going to pause and not perform it. Then for the next month, you're going to rehearse a second play.
Yeah.
Tech it at the end, full month. Then you're going to run them both a few times before an audience sees it. And then you're going to do those 2 shows in rep on stage. Friday show A, Saturday show B, Sunday show A for a bunch of weeks.
And maybe some days, Saturday matinee, Sunday evening. A-B.
Like, so we go A-B, A-B each weekend. How would you feel about that?
My present self says hell to the no.
Hell no. Right. But what about your 25-year-old self?
I would have done it.
Yeah.
I would have, and I did crazy stuff like that.
So it feels crazy, huh?
It feels to me like I would not, just in terms of presence right now, when I was younger, I was raising a son at a young age. My ex-husband and I was a kid when I had my kid, and early 20s, but I still was juggling everything. And I was a good mom, and I had a stepdaughter. So it was, I call it the just add water family, and teaching and acting and doing all the things, driving to LA for auditions, flying to New York for auditions. So yeah, I would have easily done that.
Would it have been fun for you?
No.
You just would have said yes and suffered the consequences.
That's exactly right, which I've done.
Yeah.
And now that I've realized I don't have to sacrifice my sanity and my peace.
Yeah. No. See, of course, I wouldn't do it either as an actor, but I'm thinking of doing it as a director, and I'm thinking it might be abusive. So I don't want to do that if it is.
That's interesting, Katie. As a director, I don't know.
Because as a director, I don't mind. I'd do it. Let's do it tomorrow. But I don't want to, I'm not sure it's like a fair thing to do to actors. Having been an actor for so long, I'm like, is this unethical for me to do this to people?
And it's the same tribe working.
Yeah. It would be kind of the whole point of it would be, because what I'm trying to do is, there's 2 specific kinds of shows I want to put next to each other. And I kind of feel like my thing artistically with the project is I don't get much out of either piece unless they're next to each other. But when they're next to each other, I get everything that I want the world to be seeing and talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. So you could do the thing where you do normal rep, where you just put the show up, and then while you're open, like Cass was saying, you rehearse the next one, and then they're sort of in rep for a while.
Absolutely. As you say that, and so I taught for 18 years, and so I did that in the classroom, and I had an after-school program. Well, I was always directing, 4 periods of acting and 1 of communication, but I was always directing, right? And then after school, I directed. So what you just described actually sounds like a challenge to me. And depending on the community, as a director, that part sounds like it could be doable. And then just checking in with the community to see.
I think it would all be right. It would be about taking care of people in a way that's like, that's why I would give it a full month so that like we can take days off. There's breaks built in. It's like handled well.
Yeah. I mean, It's a sort of a resource question too, because like that's kind of what they do up at Ashland, but that's when you're there, that's your job. You're not also hustling. You're not going to work your Starbucks job in the morning and then coming to rehearsal and then going to a performance that night,
Right.
which is too much. So like you take away that factor of the other hustles.
But let's say I could pay well enough.
I mean, to pay well enough, you'd have to pay everybody $1,000 a week.
Yeah, what if it's 700? I'm just spitballing. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying words.
I know.
Yeah, no, this is
It's a good question.
I don't know. At 20, my 20-year-old self would have done this, Katie.
But here,
And then knowing then knowing more about you,
yeah.
I also, yes, I would lean into doing. Yeah, it's still going to be, but you know what we do, you guys, is there's always a sacrifice as artists.
Mm-hmm.
We do less of them, but we still do them.
We still do it. I know.
Yeah.
It goes along with this craft. It really does.
But it's always finding that balance between like, yeah, I'll do it, and martyring yourself to the cause.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what is the dividing line? We were talking about this before we came on
Where's that boundary?
of, oh, I'm actually being used as opposed to am part of something.
I think it's about numbers. Like if we could get the numbers right and people are getting paid well and there's enough time and people are treated well
And you're not an asshole.
And you're not an asshole.
and I'm not an asshole,
Yeah,
that's the whole thing, really.
that's true. The university has let out a bunch and we've suffered enough from it.
We've got enough assholes.
And also just dropping this in, I was talking with a friend of mine today. I call it, I was actually talking to somebody about this years ago after a really rough time in a performance. And I said, we needed a chaplain. We needed somebody. And I used the term chaplain, but it's not necessarily that, but the person who is the bridge between team and actors.
Yeah.
Who can be
Like a party who's not invested in either side, right?
The ombudsman, we call that in some circles.
Ombudsman, yes, that the ombudsman. Yes, I love the way you said it, Cassidy. No, that was,
Feels very corporate. I'm the ombudsman.
no, it felt that rather Monty Pythonish when you said,
Ombudsman. I'm the ombudsman. Do you have any problems?
but like Cassidy, to come in and help bridge that gap between what's happening here, because there's always, the product. You got to get it done.
I know.
Always that. And that often overlooks the amount of energy that the actor is expending and vulnerability.
1,000,000%. Well, shit.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe the way to do it then is I have to be a normal person and just do the first play. It ends, do the second play. But
But you really want to put them next to each other. I understand that. And then that's the question of like, it'd be great if you could find 2 one acts that you could actually just treat as one play.
sure, it's just that that's not the thing though.
Right. Because the one play. You haven't found the second, but the one play you want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a full 2-act play.
Got it.
Maybe, what if, okay, that's a long night though. What if, and then we're going to talk about you, Dawn, and then we have a cool Akashic Records thing we want to do, just so you know that we want to include you in, which we're excited about. Okay. And I have questions for you about you, but just to wrap this up, because we were like, well, Dawn's coming, we can ask her opinion as well.
Make it even more confusing.
What if there's there could be like what do you call it? Like an opening act. There could be like a pre-show show that's maybe a 1-act. Then you have a 3-hour night. That's nuts. There's too much time. Or what you could do, okay, last idea. Then we're moving on. You could do the 2-hour play Friday night, Saturday day. Oh, that could be interesting. You could have a 2-hander or a solo show that is the corollary to the first piece.
Okay.
So not everybody from the first show is in it, but oh my God, I'm getting excited. You have the cast. Everybody learns the solo show.
What? Or the 2-hander. I would go with 2-hander.
There you go.
Everybody learns the 2-hander and you're rotating casts.
That's beautiful.
That's fun.
And fun. Yes, that would inspire.
Well, that just feels more like an adventure as opposed to just like a slog.
Exactly.
Right.
I love
It's
that.
the Hamlet roulette thing from that Shotgun did. Like, it gets to the point of, well, this is so cool that, yeah, it's too much fucking work and it's ridiculous that we're doing it, but it's too cool an idea.
And as an actor, to challenge yourself,
Right.
to be able to do that and then step into.
But you still need 6 weeks to get this shit up.
Yeah.
Well, that's my back to the shape of it. So then is it okay to do I'm excited. You do the first show for 4 weeks rehearsal, tech it, pause. Then you rehearse the two-hander for 3 or 4 weeks, tech it, pause, and then go? Does that seem cruel?
I kind of like that tech pause thing because then it allows you to put them up together as opposed to.
That's what I'm saying. I want them to go up together. I don't want it to be like 3 weeks of this one and then the other one comes in. I don't.
Yeah.
But I want to be respectful of the actors' well-beings at the same time.
Yeah. I question, like I said, present day, the lapse in time.
Because you would forget it?
No.
Because I might.
But I do question that part. But it's also the time span in between putting them both up. I've got to hold on to everything that we've done a month prior.
But what if there's a bunch of pickup rehearsals?
If you have pickup rehearsals, I'm in. That helps.
That's what I'm saying. It would have to be, right?
Well, that's an interesting thing. Maybe once a week, you just do an Italian of the first show.
Oh, that's good.
That's really good. Cassidy.
That's good.
For the listeners, an Italian is our shorthand for a fast, just kind of a get through it, hit your marks, say your lines as fast as you can, just to keep it in your system and remind yourself of it. That's what we call an Italian.
It's a great idea.
That's a great idea. And then you could do.
I think you should do the solo, the two-hander first, because it's easier to keep in your system.
Very well. Yeah.
Okay.
Instead of the chaos of a bigger show.
Okay.
And everybody will have memorized those lines first, which is a bigger line load probably. And then they can set that aside and work on the.
And you could give that to them. God, that feels harder to me.
Does it?
I've done so many.
Let's table that. I think we've got some good ideas here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because then they can rehearse on their own while they're at
Right.
when they're not on.
Quick question. Cass, why did you say do the two-hander instead of a solo show? Is there easier for the actors?
A solo show is so demanding.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's too much for me. It's over. That was personal. I was overwhelmed. I love a two-hander.
I agree.
Solo show gives me palpitations.
Okay. You're talking to a lady who did 6 of them, so I'm
Sure.
Yeah, Katie.
I don't recommend it. I don't think it's healthy. Don't do what I did. But I'm just saying that's where the question came from. So thank
Katie,
you.
I have so many questions offline about that because that, like I said, that's that's like dream.
Really?
That's dream. Yeah.
God, I'm so weird. I do everything backwards. Everything.
Maybe we should get into the records on that question for you, if you would like.
Let's do it. Okay, so this is a perfect transition. So we're all tabling all of that. That's an exciting possible
That is
thing
exciting.
to talk about. It's good. I think it can work. Okay, so Dawn, for a bunch of weeks. So one of the things we do here, right? We told you last time is like we go into the Akashic Records for whoever's here, or I go in for Cass, or I go in for me, or I go in for the Earth, or we'll talk about go in for America or whatever we're doing. I've been wanting for a few weeks now to go into the records, and I just keep forgetting to follow up with it, to talk to consciousness about what's going on with theater now. In other words, in the post-COVID world where we're losing so many theaters, people are going under, some are scraping by, a lot of them are thriving, and it's the ones producing kind of like Clue the Musical and, I don't know, it's Wicked or
The Gimmies.
the gimmies, the obvious fun Christmas Carol, and I feel like, you guys tell me if you disagree, but I feel like those were always the moneymakers, like the bigger moneymakers. But like, I feel like they're making even more now. Like people are like hungrier for that sort of feel good Americana musical, nothing challenging is being said. We all just like Oklahoma together, I don't know, more so than before? Or does it just seem like it's more so because there's less success happening in the other realm, like the B series realm? Like, do I think that there's more success for shows like Clue the Musical right now, or is it the same? It just seems like more because everything else is having a harder time. Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, yeah.
I have a theory.
Okay.
Just because we learned so much from history.
Yes.
After the Great Depression, Broadway had a big explosion of musicals come out that helped people get distracted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And musicals always do that, no matter what time frame is. And I forget but in like film theory, they talk about when you see Dracula movies, when you see werewolf movies, there's something going on in society.
Yes,
Right.
for sure.
It accompanies something going on, and theater has that same presence. And so when you say that, it makes me think about the necessity to experience joy after a worldwide pandemic.
That makes total sense. Like we need to have a light, fun time because we all just went through collective trauma.
Right.
So maybe I'm being an abusive tyrant by wanting to put people through more trauma with these plays I want to do.
I don't think so, because we can't have that light without the other side.
Right. But to the audiences aren't all the way on board yet.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. And yet there's some pretty dark musicals that are still doing well.
I mean, sounds like Gary did pretty well at Oakland, at OTP, Oakland Theater Project. I didn't get to see it, but didn't sound like a gimme. It's an unknown play, relatively unknown play called the sequel to Titus Andronicus, which is also one of the more sort of outlandish Shakespeare plays that a lot of people don't know.
With some levity in it, but it was rooted in real, tragedy.
Right. And it wasn't a known quantity. That's the key. It wasn't
Right.
a light, it may have been a light frolic, but people don't know that going in.
That's true.
They didn't go, oh, good, I've been wanting to see Gary, a sequel to Titus Andronicus.
Right.
People do go, oh, good, I've been wanting to see Clue. That sounds fun. Oh, good, I've been wanting to see a chorus line. That sounds fun.
Right. And sold out, by the way, sold out performances. So there's something to that. Yeah.
Sold out performances of which one?
Of Gary.
Huh.
So there are exceptions to the trend, but the trend still is there. I mean, we are losing theaters left and right.
We sure are.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many layers.
Well, the point being, what I'd like to do in a minute here is open the Akashic Records of Consciousness, ask it, this is what we do, and then see what insights it has for us. But while we're in there, we would also open your records, if you're open to this.
I am open to it.
Okay. And then you can ask any old question you want to ask for yourself about anything at all. Small, big, medium size, whatever you like.
Thank you.
Yay. All right. Let me take, if I may.
Cassidy, what is that thought? You look like you're thinking about something. You just
No, no, it's fine. I was distracted by something
great.
pinged on my screen. So thank you for bringing me back.
Okay. Oh, no worries.
Okay. And now you're with a different person.
Yes, I am.
Oh. And how long's that been going?
We've been together 10 years now.
Yeesh. Good for you.
Yeah, long time. And like long distance. He was in Europe before he came, and he came here for me.
Get out of town.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And literally he was out of town.
He got out of town. He got it back into town.
Talk about synchronicity. I was a mile away from his parents' house that they were just buying in California with me. So just saying.
Weird.
Okay, let me tell you a synchronicity one. Because I just moved across the country for my man.
Yes.
Which is not, I'm so like feminist and independent. I was never going to like move for a man. But I did. I got no problem with it now at all. But I used to.
Yes.
But also, when I was in Florida, so I live in Colorado, New York, Florida, each were a year. I was in Florida for a year. And I got a call from a theater in Grass Valley.
Yeah.
They said, will you come do an hour of stand-up, which I used to do a lot around here, for way, way, way too much money in April, this past April. And I went, what? Yes. Okay, sure. So I say yes to that. In the ensuing weeks, I'm trying to remember, 4 other jobs said to me, hey, can you come lead a thing in California in April? So I came out here for a month because I had so much work in 1 month. It was all done right at the end of the month.
And you didn't hustle for any of these. They all reached out to you.
That's incredible.
So I come out here. This is when I left California in 2020. I broke up with my boyfriend.
Okay.
Did 3 years of 3 different lives. That's the whole story. Came back and I was like, you know what? By the time I was in Florida, I had learned a lot and lived a lot. And I had realized, remember the night I was laying in my bed and I was like, oh shit, he was right.
Wow.
Like he was right about this and this and this and that. And I was totally wrong.
Oh my God.
And so I decided I'm going out there. Let me just hit him up and see if like he'll hear. I just said like, hey, I will understand if you don't want to talk to me, but I want you to know I'd like to apologize to you. Would you be willing to have some drinks and I'll apologize for some very specific shit that you were right about? Who doesn't like that as an entry? I mean, come on. Who doesn't want to be like, I'm going to have a dinner about how right I am? Anyway, so we got together. He said, sure. And then we've been together ever since. It wasn't the plan. It just was what happened. All of that was because 18 people said, will you come to California in the month of April?
Wow.
So I had a month to like be here with him and like, oh, we rediscovered each other, blah, blah, blah.
That's beautiful. And the thing about it, you're right. But also I really love that you were open enough to not let your, whatever the shadow is, get in the way of your truth. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's a whole lifetime of work. Thank God for that.
I know, Katie,
You get it. It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And I have to be honest with you. I have a friend right now who's going through the exact thing that he and I went through. In other words, a friend of mine who's a man was with a woman for 3 years. She broke up with him out of the fucking blue and was like, it's because of you and you and you. And then he was like, what? We were happy. We were in love. We were having sex all the time. Like, that's his perspective. And then she just ghosts, gives minimal explanation, but she's like, basically it's because you're not this and you're not that and you're doing this. And he's like, I think you're tripping and something happened. And she's like, no. Cut to a few months later, she messages him, oops, you were right. I fucked up. It was all me. It was my trauma. I didn't even see it. My therapist helped me. I get it now. So he's been messaging me and I've been helping him. He's like, is this a real thing? Can people do this? And I'm like, I literally am her. It's just that I did the realizing over 3 years. She did it in 3 months. That's either good or bad. We don't know. We're going to have to see. But like, so I've been able to be like, here's the realities you want to look at. Like,
Right.
Make sure she's actually done the work and actually willing to keep doing the work. She can't like be like, you were right, and then get back together with you and then start blaming you again. That's not going to work. Anyway, so that's been a cool, magical, synchronistic, like, and that happened since I got back here. Okay.
I love that.
Synchronicity is lovely. Dawn, Troupe, Massey. So we're going to open your records and the records of consciousness. And we're going to ask a bunch of stuff. You have some stuff in mind you can ask?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can think about it too, because I'll do the other questions first.
Okay.
And that'll give you a minute. Cool. Trying to think about, we would usually stop at 2:30, right, Cass?
Uh-huh.
Can we go a little longer?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Are you good to go a little past the half hour?
I am.
Great.
Okay.
Because you're family. Trust.
Okay, here, we'll just go back to this. All right, so we'll close our eyes when everybody's ready. It's just a short meditation that we'll do just to get us all kind of connected in the zone, get me connected to your essence and your essence's connection to source. So we'll close our eyes. We'll take a few deep breaths, nice and low and slow in the belly. Filling that low belly like we do as singers. And exhaling from the low belly. Consciously choosing and practicing just to slow the breath a bit. We'll just allow our shoulders to drop just a little bit lower than where they sit normally. We'll scan the interior landscape, noticing any tension, stress, tightness, or holding patterns. And every time we discover something tight, we just choose to kind of let our grip of it go just a little bit. So we'll notice any tension in the top of the head, or the cheekbones, or the back of the head. We'll just choose to let that go just a little bit. Not putting on the pressure to totally let it go, just kind of dropping just whatever amount of it we can drop. Feeling into the front of the face and the ears, the jaw and the neck. Noticing any tension, stress, tightness, or holding. Feeling free always to exhale through the mouth through pursed lips as if through a straw to blow the tension out. Should that be helpful? Scanning down into the shoulders and armpits, down the arms and elbows. Forearms, wrists, and hands. Noticing anything there, letting it go. All the way through the torso, the upper chest, upper back. Rib cage and mid-back, belly button. Pelvic floor, womb, belly, low back, glutes. Just getting present to those areas, letting them go. Really what we're doing is letting go of any extra gripping, which actually allows us to just really be with ourselves. We do a lot of gripping, and of course that keeps us a little bit separate from ourselves. Sinking down into the hips and the quads and the glutes and the hamstrings. Noticing any gripping and just softening the gripping, but becoming present to the muscles in there and the bones and the flesh and the skin, the knees and the calves and the shins and the ankles, tops of the feet and the bottoms of the feet, the toes. Then as we're super present with our physical bodies, we're going to start to visualize now a little spinning foot chakra at the bottom center of each foot. Little vortex of light like a tornado that's spinning wider and wider at the bottom center of each foot. We'll imagine that those vortices are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually there's nothing left at the bottom of each foot but an open plane of energy, like an open window. We'll watch now as through that open window of each foot, we watch 500 tree roots of light begin to anchor themselves into the earth below us. 500 tree roots of light shooting through the open window of your left foot, hundreds of miles down and into the earth. And 500 tree roots of light shooting through the open window of your right foot, hundreds of miles down and into the earth. And we just acknowledge that the opening of the feet and the visualizing of the roots, this is a connection between the light body of you and the light body of the planet. We could say the higher consciousness of you and the higher consciousness of the planet. Just through this visualization and the felt sense of connection with ourselves. Good. Lastly, as those roots anchor down and in, we're going to see our bodies from the feet up becoming big, huge, expansive trees of conscious light. We're going to watch the tree trunk of our bodies expand now, left and right, forward and back, and upwards into the heavens. We'll watch the tree trunk expand so far left and right, forward and back, and upwards that we can't even see the tree trunk's edges anymore in any direction. At the top of the tree trunk, we see hundreds of thousands of branches shooting off the top. We don't even know how tall it is because it's expanded and risen so high and so wide we can't even see the top of this tree. But we know there are hundreds of thousands of branches, millions of leaves now sprouting off the edges of these branches. All of this made of consciousness or imagination or light. And then we understand ourselves to be this consciousness. If we can perceive it, we are it. So we are open and receptive because we're made of light. We are huge because we've expanded, and we are grounded because we've sent our roots into this gorgeous planet. And from here, we do acknowledge the forces of light, asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed for our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of divine light, protect me, please, from all forms of self-centeredness. Direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know Dawn L. Troupe Massey and consciousness itself in the light of the Akashic Records. Help me to see Dawn L. Troupe Massey through the eyes of the Lords of the Records and consciousness itself, and enable me to share the wisdom and compassion that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Dawn L. Troupe Massey and of consciousness itself have for her and it. And I'll go quiet for just a moment here. Okay. And as we deepen into the Akashic Records of Dawn L. Troupe Massey, and as we deepen our connection with consciousness itself and the divine light, we're asking that anything and everything in any of our fields that would stand in the way of us receiving highest and best frequencies of divine light, Akashic blueprinting, guidance and direction, the most conscious, integrated awareness we can receive, we ask that it all be processed, cleared, released, integrated across all time dimensions, space, and reality. Okay, so this happens sometimes, Dawn, but not all the time for me when I open records. I'm going to have my eyes closed for a little bit, but you can feel free to open yours or not. Keep them closed, whatever's more comfortable for you. Sometimes they show me a thing initially when I get in someone's records, or they say a thing or bring an energy through. Do we all know what a fleur-de-lis is?
Yes.
How would you describe it, Dawn? What does it look like?
Multiple points, pearls, and usually ascribed to some tribe of French derivation.
Okay.
Joan of Arc, it was one of her insignias.
Oh. Do you, Dawn, does the symbol mean anything to you or have any significance for you or resonate for you in any particular way? And it's totally okay if not.
I right now have a wristband with a fleur-de-lis from a show where I played the captain of Musketeers in my bag.
Okay. Well, what is that? That's cool. What does that mean to you? And then I'm going to talk about what they're showing me.
That's interesting. I don't know. I had it made because I liked it, but actually I don't know other than.
That's okay. That's okay. So it's very cool that you have it in your bag and you've been wearing it on your wrist. So it's like I open your records and the first thing they show me is the fleur-de-lis, and it's very big and it's sprouting through the entirety of your being, like as if your essence is the fleur-de-lis. I'm barely educated about what this is, so I'm learning as we talk, but they're showing it to me. And the more we talk about it, it becomes like a fountain of fleur-de-lis-ness that starts sort of at the belly, the pelvis, and comes up and then flowers out and flowers out and flowers out, upward and upward. It's the symbol for, in this case, in this moment, the unfolding or the unfurling of the full expression of you. But also there's an empowerment piece and a theatrical piece and a beauty piece. It's like the energy of Leo and Libra all at once. Like, look at me, I'm fantastic, I'm feathers, I'm beauty, I'm connection, I'm love. It's all of that. And it's functioning like the way feathers do, but also the way fountains do. So the feathers that come out, like that create the curls, feathers isn't quite the right word. It's have you ever seen the plant called the pampas? Pampas? Okay, if you look one of those up, it's kind of like those at some point, and it doesn't matter. But so the curlicue arms are like pampas feathery leaves, but are also fountains of creativity, ink, life, oil. Like it's like the flowering of a being, of a soul. This is a being, they're going to talk for a little bit here. This is a being who's been here many times before, who comes this time to share abundant love, expression, joy, beauty, pleasure, light, in the form of expression, flowering, abundant expression. This is not a being meant to be small in any way. This is a being meant to be big and out front and seen. They're like, you could all benefit, myself included, from learning more about the fleur-de-lis if you'd like to understand this metaphor further. So any research, Dawn, that you feel like doing later about what it's been about, unless you feel thoroughly, unless you get it already. But they're like, look it up. You'll learn a lot. And this is you. This is the essence of you right now. It's a very potent time of your life. I wonder if you're experiencing it that way, but it's a very potent time. This is a time where you could accomplish pretty much anything you decided to accomplish, as long as you are sort of like fabulous and big and bushy and right out there and beautiful and amazing about it. Of course, it has to be integrated with your truth. Okay, so they showed it to me like this. First, there was fabulousness for you, and then there was truth. and knowing yourself. And now there's both. And the fabulousness emanates now in a new way from the truth. So you won't sacrifice yourself anymore in the name of it. Rather, the flowery essence that emerges as the creative expression you give comes from the fountain of truth, the inkwell of truth. Let me just see here if there's anything else. Nope. Okay. So do you have any questions you'd like to start with, Dawn? Or do you need a minute and we'll come back to you?
No, but I will share. What I just found is that fleur de lis is the lily flower. And I am one of the flowers of Lily. My mother's name is Lily, literally.
Oh, wow.
And you are a flower of lily.
One of her 7 flowers.
Wow. Okay, there is an emphasis here on writing. Now they've turned the fleur de lis into a feather quill at the end with the ink well at the bottom. Feather quill pen thing. And did you tell us you're writing or doing a film or something?
Yeah, I am writing, and I'm in post-production for our short.
Okay. So there's a way so the writing allows both of the energies we're describing here to fully exist through you. The truth telling that you're ready to inhabit, the authenticity, the stripped down, naked, raw truth, blended with the fabulousness. The writing allows it to be, because you are in control of what you say. We would encourage, do you have a book in you?
Yes, I do.
It'd be a good time.
Okay.
It's very aligned to start, and you don't have to think of it as a pressure thing. It's like, just start and let they show it to me like this. You know how those pens that are, what is that called? A quill? So the quill, when it's scratching on the page, as you go, it's like the ink drives you forward. In other words, the metaphor that they're getting at is like the ink keeps flowing as you start. So all you have to do is start, and you're going to find yourself inspired to keep going. There's going to be elements of history and elements of family and truth telling, and it's your truth, and integrating with sort of beauty and fabulousness all in one place. Nothing you could say is too much or too intimate or too private or too something. It's time for all of that to come out. And you can take your time, do it as you're inspired. You might find that you get caught up on the fiery, what's that word I want? That when fires swell, like fiery swells of inspiration. You may find yourself just like, fuck, I need to write. I'm so into it now. And obviously that will, keep you going forward. Questions, thoughts, feelings on any of that?
Say Loose Shoes comes to mind. Wow. Just when you asked about a book I was writing, my bike home yesterday thinking about writing this book that I thought of when I traveled through Africa.
Wait, you said Selu Shoes?
Selu's. His name was Selu. Selu's Shoes.
Who's this?
The shoes that belong to Selu's.
He didn't wear them, but in my story, it is a Western thought that was trying to be pushed onto him.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's that piece. They're very strongly encouraging that. It's like you're the fleur de lis, and the fleur de lis is the feathery quill of a scratchy pen that wants to be writing.
That's fabulous. Okay.
Okay. So, any questions that you have that you'd like to ask?
We've kind of answered one. So,
okay.
Is there? Do I ask that one? Is there peace of mind in me leaning into this corporate culture?
Peace of mind.
Is there a future for me leaning into this corporate culture?
Yeah. I really want to say yes for you because is it that there's a bunch of money? Yeah, it's just like, ugh. They're like, no.
Yeah.
But let me see. It's not that there couldn't be a future. It's just not the thing.
So it's a certain amount of time I think that I'm going to give to this,
Okay.
and I'm gaining fabulousness from what I'm doing. I'm really in love with what I'm doing, and yet, anyway, I love this work. It's just very time consuming, and a lot of other things are like wayside.
Okay. Can you say more about what the work is?
It is coaching, which is an incredible world because I'm, an educator as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Cassidy and I both do a fair amount of this kind of corporate coaching too. I don't know if you know that, but we get you.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. And when you do it, the money's good.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Can you frame the question another way? Because all I get is no.
Okay, let me see.
Are you saying, should I do these gigs sometimes, or are you saying, should I make this the majority of what I do?
Yes, because that is actually what's happening. I'm studying.
Okay.
I'm spending a lot of time, and like I said, I love the work. And
okay,
while I am learning, which is something that I wholeheartedly want to practice, continuing to learn, I'm also expanding. And so when you speak about this fabulousness and truth, those things are really expanding within me as I practice this coaching, which is, and yet I'm questioning because I'm getting further and further away from my art.
That's the thing. They're like, don't get too far away. And you may have to do a lot of it to realize how much of it you don't want to do.
There you go. Okay. That's right in line with how I'm feeling.
Okay.
That I need to practice it for some time, and I'm going to gain and gather what I can, and then figure out how much of it I can do so that I can.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
That's better. They're like, just don't not write.
Love that. Okay. Heard.
Okay. What else?
I have a piece. I'm specifically going to go into a writing since they're talking about it. Writing the light is a work. It's funny, where I'm actually dealing with histories, and you mentioned what histories and family and truth, and it's dealing with all of those, and it's dealing with those things across time and across space, and I've put it off because it's now in a place where it's supposed to change from one medium to another, and I find that hard.
Okay, is this something you wrote?
Yeah.
Okay, is it riding the light or writing the light?
Riding, like flying.
Okay.
Like riding on a star.
Why is it supposed to change form?
The format right now is a screenplay, and I've been asked to turn into a stage.
That's an unusual direction. Usually it goes the other way.
I know. I originally saw it as a stage play, but it didn't come out that way.
I'm just trying to get intel on this. Again, it's a big no, and I don't know. I don't have any more information on that. So I'm going to ask you, go ahead.
I feel like it may be one thing at a time.
That's better. That's better.
Yeah. That's my feeling because it's a lot. It's a rather epic idea. And I think the rest will come once the screenplay is established, finished, and put forth.
For whatever reason, they like the other thing more, the shoes one.
Sailors. That's the book. That's the book first, yeah.
Yeah, that's
fun.
I don't know. Is the other one, is the screenplay one kind of already done-ish?
It is. That's why, that's funny because Sailors has not been written. I have treatment.
That's what's going on. They want you to write Sailors.
Got it.
Write that. Focus on that. You do some corporate work for some money, but don't take it too seriously. Be careful. It's like you could get what's that? Golden handcuffs. Yeah, just careful. It's tempting, and they'll tempt you, and it's just not the thing. It's a thing to do for money, but you're right. What you're doing now, according to these guides, conscious and meta, is you're writing that book. Then when that's written, you're going to have, things will have shifted in time space enough that you'll know something else will happen with this other thing that's a lot less effort than, it's feeling like this big weight and this big effort to do the screenplay one. And they're like, no big weight, no big effort.
Right.
It should just come to fruition, and it needs time to gestate in order to do that on its own.
Agreed.
Okay. Anything else?
Do the records have any feeling about a big move?
Okay, can you be more specific?
Oh, yes. Moving to Europe.
Like, is it in your highest good to move to Europe?
Yeah.
Wow, it reads really well. And it's more inspiring for the writing. Everything's more inspiring for you in that.
So wild.
It matches the quill energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't use fucking quills here.
Wow.
They use quills there.
Yeah.
It's a silly metaphor. Anyway, where are you thinking of going?
The couple places, Portugal is one.
Mm-hmm.
Berlin is another.
Okay.
And France is somewhere I've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually received a yes from a residency in France for writing, so it's funny you say that.
Oh, what?
I wasn't able to do it, but yeah.
What I get on that is any of those places would be great. It's sort of like follow your heart. France is a lot louder than the other two. France is like France, and the other two are also good. Germany, I think you should visit all of them a lot. Like, they want you seeing all of it, going to all of it. Set up camp where it feels most quill-like. Fabulous, feathers, beautiful, ornate, but artsy. You know, the energy's more France than anything else.
Okay.
But they like all of it for you. So it's kind of like choice. So maybe do some travel and just see what resonates. But they put me with you in France.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And
It's interesting, though, because it's not, usually I get a this, not this. And it's not like that in this case. It's like all of it.
That's beautiful.
And France.
and it goes back to France.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's not a yes, this, not that. It's sort of all of it.
And France. And ironically, what we are going to do is literally go sit in different places. We love Lisbon, but we're going to go sit in a couple places to try out just life living there while I'm able to work remotely.
That's great.
So funny you say that. I'm going to go sit in Berlin for a minute. We know what Lisbon's like. And
There you go.
my partner lived in France forever, but it's kind of done, but I want to live in a different part.
Yeah. Okay, just for time, unless you have another one. Do you have anything else?
No, that's good.
Okay. All right. I'm going to just check in now with
Consciousness.
this other stuff here. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I'm going to close your records, Dawn. So
Thank you. Thank you, Records. Thank you, Katie.
I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion, the lords of the records for their point of view, and the Holy Spirit of light for all knowledge and healing. As you return all of Dawn L. Troupe Massey's energy to herself now, please. As you return her to her complete human wholeness. The divine portal and the Akashic records of Dawn L. Troupe Massey are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of Dawn L. Troupe Massey are now closed. Amen. The divine portal and the Akashic records of Dawn L. Troupe Massey are now closed. Amen, amen, amen. Shadow and Layla. Hello, Shadow and Muhammad Abdul Sallallahu. I mean, okay. So as I'm just tapping into, yeah. Okay, so we wanted to ask some stuff here about, like, so American theater is going through a lot right now. I'm not even sure how to frame the question, but let me think through it. We'd like some information about, so a lot of theaters are closing, and people are seeming to really want sort of crowd-pleasing material. Why is all of that happening? What's it about? Where's it headed? Like, what can you show us about any of that? Let's start with a lot of people think that it's everything about equity and inclusion. Yeah, see, they're like, no, it's not all that. That is a piece of it, but that is not the whole picture at all. Okay, then other people think it's about mismanagement of the theaters financially. No, it's not about that either. So why are these theaters going under? And, like, what is being born? First of all, are we going to lose theater entirely? No, definitely not. Are we going to lose professional theater entirely? No, definitely not. Is it falling down to be reborn? Yes, of course it is. You know that everything in nature and everything in time space, when it falls, it has to become ash so it can become dirt, so something new can be born. Okay, so what is new that is being born? Is it the structure of how the thing is run? Is it equity and inclusion? Is it money? Is it all of that and then some? Yes. So it's all of that and then some. Are people going to be, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to put a pin in that. Are people going to see the crowd pleasers? I'll call them that for lack of a better term. Because they just need something light after COVID? No. Because they need fun after COVID? Yes. Okay, not light, but fun. Okay, they need to laugh and they need joy and they need to, it's like, okay, so they're like this. It's like people went inside and they went home and they pent up and some people who are not exactly conscious of what their lives are for or any bigger questions, they just hunkered down, powered down and pulled in. And now they're shaking it off like a dog shakes off water, and they need to laugh because it's all pent up inside themselves because they didn't process. Now, the rest of you who spent the time processing, which is a lot of you as well, good news, 38% of the population actually took the time and used it for something valuable, like processing, but the rest did not. Well, let's be clear. Another portion, I can't get the number, but another big portion didn't do shit with it. And then there's a middle section of people who got what we would call like a kickstart. They started to process because of it. When we say process, we mean process your old pain, face yourself, get clear about what's a lie and what's not a lie, reorient yourself towards your North Star, do what's correct for you, etc. Okay, so those who didn't process, they're like tight wads of stress, and they're still coming out of the tight stress wads and they're shaking it off and they want to laugh. Okay, so then I'm asking, how are we to understand as people who want to make theater that is challenging and deep and not so fun-timey? What is our role right now? Your role is the same. Your role is what your role has always been. Your role is to poke holes in the patriarchy and the capitalist structures that you've been living in that are delusions and lies. This is real. Your role is to be the poke. You poke and instigate and challenge. Some people will always be ready for this. Some people will get something out of it, but not the whole thing. And many people will get nothing out of it. You have to remember, you're not doing this to please everyone. You're doing this to do this. You're doing this to instigate. You're doing this to poke and awaken. Okay, will there be enough people? Yes. Okay, they don't even want me to ask that question. They're like, okay, you know better than to ask this. Stop it. Okay. Do I need to be concerned with the location of Danville? Or they no? Okay. So like in terms of Cassidy's play, the play he's doing down in Carmel, it's like there's smaller audiences for the Shakespeare. Why is that? As opposed to like whatever the other show is that they're selling out. What is the other show again, Cass?
Well, that show's over, but they sold the hell out of the Addams Family musical. Like, just packed to the gills. And it's, frankly, I would call that a community theater production as opposed to a professional production. And it was good, but it was, what it was.
Okay, so, like, why so many people going to that? In that same theater? Same theater?
Same location, same company, same everything.
Okay, so why do so many people go to that? I'm sorry, Cass. What's the name of the theater again?
The theater is the Pacific Repertory Theater.
Okay.
And the location is the Forest Theater, which is the actual place that it takes place.
Yeah, it's just the bandwidth. Gosh, there's a lot here. I'm going to just try to say it all. So some people's bandwidth is less wide because they're still dealing with... A lot of humans got really in their bodies more than they had been before COVID and started to value their bodies in a new way. When you are completely restructuring the way a population thinks about reality and life itself, you have to make room for, there will be a time where they're not putting their extra money in the direction of things that don't directly help their bodies. So they're looking for medicine and healing and wellness and spas and retreats and homes and safety and stability and laughter, because it's like they realized it's kind of like you shake someone out of the fever dream of their life and go, hey, you're going to die in 20 years. They go, fuck, okay, we have to prioritize everything that matters. So for a lot of the population, they're so conditioned towards it's all just about safety, frankly, that's where their whole focus is. So they don't even turn their heads enough to look at, well, let's spend extra money to go have an artful conversation about something. But remember, you are a different breed. All of you here are people who are having a conversation at a level that people who are ready to have that level of conversation can hear. Everyone else just isn't quite ready to have that level of conversation. They're all focused so much on their health and their safety and their bodies. So give it some time and things will bounce back. And there's something else. So they're pointing me back to the 3-card spread I did this morning on Facebook. I do one on Monday and one on Friday for people who watch. And they're talking about the Magic Stream card. There's a card, the Magic Stream, in this deck that I use that talks about everything you do ripples out, right, into the collective and into... It all ripples out. So understand that even if you do a show where 20 people come and then 30 people come, it's rippling out farther than that. It's having more of an impact and an effect than you think. Don't believe the hype, as it were, that like if it doesn't make all the money immediately, that it has no value. It's not that it won't again. And it's not that you can't, Katie. It's that that's not the only value. Don't get so capitalistic that you forget. You're not making this to make money. You need to pay the people, but you're not trying to get rich on this. You're trying to say something. You know, the griots and the tribal storytellers, they were the medicine people of the tribe. They were healing the world by telling the stories. They were giving context to what's happening on Earth. They weren't like, now give me all your seashells and I shall be the wealthy one. Although people in those tribes regularly would give them all the seashells and they would be wealthy. But if you look at the role they would play, they would be just wealthy enough to get by to do the next one. This is conditioning from the culture of your world that it should matter. And yet, so I just want to respond. And yet it's like, we also all like have nervous systems and bodies that have to be taken care of, and money matters. It does matter. Like if we don't have any, we're not safe and healthy to do this very difficult athletic work. They're like, yeah, that's why the young ones do the athletic stuff and you don't.
They do the rep shows and you don't.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, nothing wrong with that. Accept your role, accept your destiny. You are where you are. Be here now. Okay. Anybody else have a question?
I don't think so. I mean, the thought of like, it's fine that only 40 people are coming to your show because that's who wants to see your show. And that's what the theater has done. They've said, we're going to do this big, crazy musical. And they're still paying all of our paychecks. They knew it. I'm thinking that thought like, oh, they knew what they were getting into. They're going to lose money on our show. And that's in the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yep. So it says nothing about what's actually happening.
Right. And that they do value it. They wouldn't do it if they didn't value it.
And what you're saying, what consciousness is coming to you, makes me think about how we can sometimes misplace the value of this art form because of capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the need for it. Yeah.
Well, it's hard. It's hard.
It really is. And how often, and it's a question I ask myself, but how often do you sit in the joy of doing this? And how often do you sit in the joy and not let anything else get in the way of just the simple joy that you're able to create?
Right.
And also that we sit in judgment of, we're going to use Clue the Musical as our stand-in for that. We sit in judgment of Clue the Musical for being successful and making all the money.
Yes.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
No. Also, thank you.
That's right. To make space for this, for you.
Both.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without Adam's Family, we don't have Cymbeline.
Oh my God. I have to hop off.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
We love you.
Katie, love you.
It's all right.
Love you guys. Do your work.
Everyone do your work.
What are you asking for? All of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you.
Are we good? You need anything to wrap up?
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
Okay. Reach out because I need more